Alright, so you've seen the hype around the iPhone 16 Pro Max, but if you're like me and you're coming from the iPhone 14 Pro Max, you might be wondering, is it really worth the upgrade? In this video, I'm doing a side-by-side comparison of these two devices to help you figure out if the iPhone 16 Pro Max is really a major leap forward or just a small step up. Let's dive right in. Let's start with the design. If you put these two phones side by side, you'd notice that not much has changed. The iPhone 16 Pro Max looks almost identical to the 14 Pro Max. Same squared edges, same camera bump, and almost the same weight. The biggest difference, the iPhone 16 Pro Max now has a titanium frame instead of stainless steel. This makes the phone slightly lighter and more durable, but honestly, once you slap on a case on it, you won't notice much of a difference in feel. For everyday use, both phones have that same premium Apple build quality. So if you're looking for a brand new design, you won't find it here. Now onto the display. The iPhone 16 Pro Max has a slightly larger 6.9-inch Super Retina XDR display compared to the 6.7-inch display on the 14 Pro Max. That extra 0.2 inches might not sound like much, but it does make a difference if you're into content consumption or gaming. Another difference is the brightness. The 16 Pro Max reaches a peak brightness of 2400 nits, which is higher than the 2000 nits on the 14 Pro Max. This makes a noticeable difference in direct sunlight, especially if you're in places like Dubai or other sunny locations. So if you're always outdoors, that extra brightness could be a game changer. But in terms of day-to-day use, if you're upgrading from the 14 Pro Max, the display improvement is noticeable but not earth-shattering. Here's where things get a bit more interesting: performance. The iPhone 16 Pro Max is powered by the A18 Bionic chip, which Apple claims is faster, more powerful, efficient, and better at handling multitasking than the A16 Bionic in the 14 Pro Max. Now, in real-world use, both phones are incredibly fast. You'll be able to open apps instantly, multitask smoothly, and game without lag on both devices. But unless you're doing some seriously demanding tasks, the difference between the A16 and the A18 chips won't feel dramatic for the average user. Sure, if you're into high-end gaming, video editing, or working with AR apps, the A18 will give you an edge. But for everyday use, both chips are beasts and you won't feel much of a difference. Now let's talk cameras, because this is where people are always hoping for big changes. The iPhone 16 Pro Max has a 48 megapixel main camera, 48 megapixel ultra wide camera now, and 12 megapixel telephoto lens, as opposed to the 14 Pro Max, which is 12 megapixel on the ultra wide, 48 megapixel on the standard, and 12 megapixel on the telephoto. So at first glance, it doesn't look like much has changed, but Apple has made some improvements under the hood. The 16 Pro Max has a larger sensor for better low light performance, and there's some enhanced computational photography powered by the A18 chip that gives you sharper photos, especially in tough lighting conditions. One noticeable improvement is in its dynamic zoom and image stabilization feature, which are a bit more refined on the 16 Pro Max. However, unless you're comparing photos side by side, these changes aren't going to be mind-blowing. If you're a professional photographer or love taking lots of photos, you'll appreciate the subtle improvements. But if you're coming from the 14 Pro Max, it's not going to feel like a massive camera upgrade, to be honest. Battery life is another area where Apple has made some tweaks. The iPhone 16 Pro Max has a slightly bigger battery, and thanks to the A18 chip, it's more power efficient. In my experience, the 16 Pro Max does last a little longer than the 14 Pro Max, but we're talking about marginal gains, maybe an extra hour or so of screen on time. If your 14 Pro Max was already getting you through the day, the 16 Pro Max will do the same, with a little more juice to spare while you're sleeping. But if you were hoping for a massive battery improvement, this isn't it. Now, one of the biggest features Apple has teased for the iPhone 16 lineup is something called Apple Intelligence, an AI-driven feature that's supposed to help automate and streamline tasks in ways we've never seen before. It's supposed to take productivity and personalization to the next level. But here's the catch. It's not available yet. Apple says this will be a part of a future software update. So as of right now, there's nothing groundbreaking in terms of AI that sets the 16 Pro Max apart from the 14 Pro Max. But we'll have to wait and we'll see how Apple Intelligence performs when it's eventually rolled out. So here's the real question. Should you upgrade to the iPhone 16 Pro Max if you're coming from the iPhone 14 Pro Max? My honest opinion, probably not. Or if you're on the iPhone 15 Pro Max lineup, absolutely not. The upgrades, while nice, feel pretty incremental. Yes, the display is a bit bigger and brighter, the A18 chip is more powerful, and the camera is slightly better in low light, but unless you're a power user or someone who needs the absolute best performance, the 14 Pro Max still holds its own incredibly well. If you've got an iPhone 12 or older, the jump to the 16 Pro Max will feel significant. But if you're already using the 14 Pro Max, I'd say wait until the next big upgrade, because this one feels more like a small step forward rather than a leap. So let me know what you think in the comments below. Are you tempted by the iPhone 16 lineup, or does it feel too similar and familiar to the iPhone 14 Pro Max for you? Let me know in the comments, and as always, if you found this video helpful, don't forget to like, subscribe, hit that notification bell, and I'll see you guys in the next one.